What is the future of education, of learning, of training, of coaching? What is it going to look like in the new world of artificial intelligence? Hi, I'm TJ Walker, and I'm going to explore with you right now the world of artificial intelligence as it relates to education, training, and coaching. Now, I have taught more than 200 online courses throughout my career, but I'm new to this whole artificial intelligence game. And today I'm going to test my clone and see if it can go from merely answering questions, which is a big deal, it can answer questions. I want to see if it can not only answer questions, but actually lead someone through a course, but personalize it in a way where it seems like one on one coaching. Because most people value one on one coaching a lot more. If you're buying an online course, maybe you pay a few $100, maybe you pay $9. What happens in most online courses? You kind of sit back, watch, maybe a halfway watch, check email from time to time. Maybe you take a call and do other things, but we're not really that focused quite often when it's a video coming out in a linear push way. Now, something better than that is a classroom where you're in a classroom with, say, 20 people. The teacher can see you, but even there, the mind can wander. The research is pretty clear that individuals learn better when it's a one-on-one coaching, tutoring situation where there's one person, really a teacher, a coach, whatever you call it, responding directly to the needs of a student. Every question is answered. Nothing goes to the next step until the current step has been solved or mastered. That's ultimately the best way to learn. It's ultimately the fastest way to learn. It might not be the favorite way for everyone, but it has been shown to be the most effective. So the real question is, can artificial intelligence, specifically digital clones, get closer to that ideal? Because I'm operating under the theory, and I'm certainly hoping that my digital clone can get a lot closer to that ideal of a one-on-one training than it is to the traditional video-based on-demand course. So that's the hope. That's what I want to test out, and I want your feedback as well. So I'm going to pull up my clone here a minute, and we're going to do a test together and see what we come up with. I'll be taking your questions as well, but I'm going to have a lot of questions. Now, this sounds in some way a little bit, narcissistic, weird, perhaps self-indulgent. TJ's talking to the TJ Walker clone. Well, I'm doing that because I want to see if I can get it to be helpful for you. And I want to see if I can help more people around the world, especially on their schedule, not mine, and their language, not mine, because these clones now through ChatGPT 4o can sort of instantly convert anything into any language. And it can be done any time of day in any continent. So it really is opening up an entire new world of possibility for reaching people. So I'm going to share my screen here a minute and bring up my clone. And we're going to ask it some questions and see what it can do. This is from leftover from my previous message. So I'm going to place a new call to my clone. If you want to see this, Ben, if you wouldn't mind posting a link to our clone. My colleague Ben is in the green room, in the production room. And we're going to go ahead and call this and try to do a little testing. Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you? Hi, TJ. I need some help today. I understand you have taught the complete personal productivity course, and I would like you to teach me this course, but I want it personalized to my needs. I want to know everything you teach people in your entire course, but I don't want you just to lecture to me or summarize. I want you to walk me through it as if I were spending an entire day or two with you one-on-one. I do not want you to do your traditional thing of then giving me a homework assignment, of giving a speech at the end. I want us to focus just on the core principles you teach and the exercises you teach in your complete personal productivity course. And I want everything you talk about to be focused on my specific needs, not general purposes. For starters, I would like to be more productive on a daily basis in several areas. I want to be more regular about getting vigorous aerobic exercise and getting pickleball on my schedule. I want to be even more consistent when it comes to doing reading, at least an hour of reading every night. I want to be more consistent and more productive by literally turning my cell phone off at least an hour a day for walking. And I want to be more productive by creating more digital clones. So those are my biggest focuses for where I want to improve my own productivity. Now I would like to turn it over to you, and I want you to teach me this course for the next hour and to do it in a truly interactive way. Please, please do that.
All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle each of your productivity goals with precision and actionable steps. First, let's talk about getting vigorous aerobic exercise and pickleball on your schedule. The key here is to make it non-negotiable. Treat it like an important meeting. Block out specific times in your calendar for these activities. For
But
example,
wait a
every
second,
Monday,
TJ.
Wednesday.
Here's the complication is I'm not close to any indoor courts. I only play outdoor pickleball. And I live here in Florida and it rains a lot this time of year. So sometimes I have every intention of playing from 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m., but it's raining and there's nothing I could do. I should go to the gym and go to the treadmill, but I just find that so much less interesting. So what suggestions do you have for me given those facts?
I hear you. Florida weather can be unpredictable and it can definitely throw a wrench in your plans. Here's what I suggest. Embrace flexibility and variety in your exercise routine. When the weather is good, make the most of your outdoor pickleball sessions. But when it rains, have a backup plan that excites you just as much. Consider indoor activities that can be just as engaging. For instance, try a high energy group fitness class like spinning or Zumba. These can be fun and social, much like pickleball. Alternatively, explore indoor sports like racquetball or squash, which can provide a similar competitive edge.
Now
Another
that's
idea is to
interesting,
invest in some.
TJ, because I I really don't like spin. They have a spinning room in my building that I live in, but I don't really like exercise classes or spinning. But it does occur to me in the past, I have played racquetball, I have played squash. I'm not sure where the nearest courts are around, but it is pretty similar to pickleball. On a hot day, that would be a lot better. It does bring me back to my time working in Washington, D.C., and I was a member of the Capitol Hill Squash Club, and I would go in and there's Antonin Scalia changing and getting out of the shocker, which was a little weird. And there's Senator Specter and others. Everyone was right there in the Capitol Hill Squash Club. So I did enjoy playing squash. So that's a good idea. Please continue.
That's fantastic. Squash is a great alternative, especially since you have fond memories of it. It's engaging, competitive, and a solid workout. Now let's move on to your next goal. Reading consistently for at least an hour every night. The key here is to create a ritual around your reading time. Set a specific time each evening, perhaps right before bed, and make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Create a cozy reading nook with good lighting and a comfortable chair. This will make the experience more enjoyable and something you look forward to. Next, turning off your cell phone for at least an hour a day for walking. This is crucial for mental clarity and productivity. Schedule this time in your calendar, just like you would a meeting.
TJ,
Use
back to the
this
reading.
time.
Back to the reading. I do try to read for an hour a day, but what I find is quite often between getting my daughter to bed, other things, last minute conversations with my wife, and just normal things, all the flossing and everything. Quite often, I don't, and I do go to bed early. I go to bed at 9 o'clock quite often, and I'm reading on my Kindle Nook, because the lighting is so much lower lighting and less disruptive for sleep patterns. By the time I do that, I've often fallen asleep within 20 minutes, which is good for my sleep habits, and better sleep is better for productivity. But it means I might have only gotten 20 minutes of reading time rather than a full hour. So that's the challenge for me regarding the reading. But please continue and help me with productivity and other aspects of my life.
I understand the challenge of balancing family time, personal routines, and your reading goals. It's great that you're prioritizing sleep, as it's crucial for overall productivity. Here's a strategy to help you get more reading time without compromising your sleep. Try incorporating reading into other parts of your day. For instance, you could read during your lunch break or while waiting for appointments. Another idea is to listen to audiobooks during your commute or while doing chores. This way you can still consume the
Well, but
content
TJ, I
of
don't I
books
don't
even
commute.
when
Hang on a second. I walk 5 minutes from office to home, and in that period, I'm often doing my morning journaling, or I'm trying to just enjoy nature. So there's not really time for me to listen to an audiobook. I do find everyone has different preferred modes of learning and consuming content. I really do prefer to read. I don't really enjoy listening to audio. And horrible for me to say this given my profession, don't tell anyone. I don't actually enjoy watching video based courses. I like watching, if I'm going to watch video, I'm going to want to watch an entertaining movie. Yes, I'll watch documentaries, but if I'm going to learn something, I find it's much better for me to read actual text, something that I can underline if it's a paper book, highlight if it's in my Kindle. So that's why, to me, the audiobooks, it's an occasional supplement for an airplane or something, but in general, I like to read.
I get it. Reading is your preferred mode of learning, and that's fantastic. Let's leverage that to maximize your productivity. Since you enjoy reading and find it more effective, let's integrate it into your daily routine in a way that fits your lifestyle. Consider breaking up your reading into smaller chunks throughout the day. For example, you could read for 10 minutes after lunch or during any short breaks you have. This way, you accumulate more reading time without needing a full uninterrupted hour at night. Another strategy is to set a timer for 20 minutes before bed. This can help you stay awake long
Wait a minute.
enough to
Sorry,
get more
TJ.
reading done.
You mentioned that one already. Let's try not to repeat ourselves in this ongoing session here. That would be much, much appreciated. So let's move on to another aspect of productivity. What's another area where you can really help me boost my productivity given my concerns?
Let's focus on turning off your cell phone for at least an hour a day for walking. This is crucial for mental clarity and productivity. Schedule this time in your calendar just like you would a meeting. When you walk, leave your phone behind or put it on airplane mode. This will help you disconnect and truly enjoy the walk, allowing your mind to wander and refresh.
So,
Now,
TJ, I did
let's
that
talk about
today
creating more
at a beautiful walk on the beach this morning. Left the house at 6:30 a.m., got home around 7:30, and it worked. Now, I did that really my first 3 years living in Florida, the last 3 years until a few months ago. Then my schedule changed because I wanted to start doing my daily live streaming show with you and others right here on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and X and Instagram and all of these places. But in order to, and I wanted to start it at 9 a.m. to go to noon. So I couldn't do that without getting into the studio a little bit after 8 to set up the lights and the microphone and the cameras and all of this, prepare. So because of that, I could not get to the beach, get home, shower and all that, and get to the office by 8:15. So it changed my walk patterns. And now I'm weaving in the walking in different parts of the day, but it's not the same set thing where I'm turning off my phone and going for an hour to the beach. So that has affected my productivity somewhat by not having that regular beach time. I'm not quite sure what the answer is because, on the other hand, I'm more productive on the video content I create because I'm creating 3 hours a day of video content. Any thoughts there?
I hear you. Balancing your beach walks with your live streaming schedule is a challenge. Here's a thought. Consider shifting your beach walks to a different time of day, maybe right after your live stream ends at noon. This way, you can still enjoy the beach, disconnect from technology, and refresh your mind. It might not be the early morning, but it can still be a valuable part of your routine. Another idea is to break up
Well,
your
TJ,
walks
again,
into
it's
shorter
that's a
segments
great
throughout the
theory.
day.
That's a great theory. The problem is, here I am in Florida. It's not even June, July, and by noontime, it's often 90 degrees. With the heat index, it's often closer to 100. It's really not possible to walk at noon in Florida anymore. And in the mid afternoon, even late afternoon, it's too hot. So the main opportunities are morning and evening. So that's my challenge with the walking. But I'm going to give more thought to that. You raised some good points. Let's go to the next area of productivity. How can you help me?
All right, let's tackle another key area of productivity, creating more digital clones. This is a fascinating and ambitious goal. To be more productive in this area, it's essential to streamline your process and make it as efficient as possible. Start by documenting every step you take when creating a digital clone. This will help you identify any redundant or time consuming tasks that can be automated or delegated. Next, set specific measurable goals for how many clones you want to create each week or month. Break these goals down into daily tasks to keep yourself on track. Use project management tools to organize your workflow and ensure you're consistently making progress. Also, consider batching similar tasks together. For example, if you need to record videos for your clones, set aside a specific time each week to do all your
Well, that's
recordings at
part of
once.
what I'm doing.
This
That's TJ,
minimizes
that's part of what I'm doing right now. And for those of you just joining us, hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful by boosting your communication skills and increasing your confidence in your communication skills. And that includes using technologies to communicate more effectively. And the technology I'm most excited about, that I think has the most radical chance of really revolutionizing communication in the world, is the use of digital clones, which is what I'm using right now. I'm using my own digital clone to coach me to take all the lessons from my complete personal productivity course, but instead of just spitting out generic concepts as I do in my course and a one size fits all push content strategy, I'm asking it to take those concepts and then give me a personalized coaching session covering all the main topics that are in the course, but personalizing everything to me by talking to me, asking me questions, finding out about my particular needs. So that's what we're doing here today. With that said, TJ, please continue helping me improve not my communication skills. Help me improve my personal development and my personal productivity skills. Please continue.
All right, let's dive deeper into your personal productivity. Since you're already leveraging digital clones effectively, let's focus on optimizing your workflow and maximizing your output. One powerful strategy is to create a detailed content calendar. This will help you plan and allocate specific times for creating, editing, and publishing your digital clones. By having a clear roadmap, you can ensure that each task is given the attention it deserves without feeling overwhelmed. Next, let's talk about setting boundaries to protect your creative time. It's crucial to have uninterrupted blocks of time where you can focus solely on creating content. Consider using tools like time blocking apps or even a simple timer to help you stay on track. This will help you maintain a high level of productivity and
What tool
ensure
are
that you're
TJ, are there
consistently
particular
producing
tools you
high
do
quality.
recommend? And do you recommend, for example, blockers that block access to certain like news sites? If I know I'm going to waste time going to certain news sites, or I go to LinkedIn too many times a day, are there certain tools you recommend to block my access? I've heard of those.
Absolutely. There are tools that can help you block access to time, wasting sites, and boost your productivity. One popular option is Freedom. It allows you to block distracting websites and apps across all your devices. Another effective tool is Stay Focused, which is a Chrome extension that limits the amount of time you can spend on certain websites. However, I also recommend a simpler approach, the off button. Literally turning off your phone or computer during deep work sessions can be incredibly effective. This method forces you to disconnect and focus solely on the task at hand. Experiment with these tools and see which one works best for you. What specific
TJ,
productivity
I
goal would
have
you like to
found
tackle
that for
next?
me, because I have used Freedom, obviously, since I am you. And I just lost interest in it, I guess, after 6 months or so. So for me, the most effective way is, frankly, turning the off button on a phone. Because frankly, even if I'm going to talk, even if I'm interviewing someone, I've caught myself feeling the urge to, oh, let me put the camera on them, and then without anyone looking, let me check and see, did I miss any really cool email or text? Which is a terrible thing to do at many, many levels. It's rude to the guest. It is splintering my attention. It is attempting to multitask, which human beings, myself included, are notoriously horrible at. So I do find there's nothing like a good old fashioned turning the phone off. Now, what I'll also do sometimes, if I really want to think and do strategic thinking, I'll take one of these things. Some of you may not have seen this in a while. It's called a pen, and it's used for writing on a thing called a piece of paper. I'll actually leave my office and go to a coffee shop or someplace like that, sit, not take my cell phone, get some beverage I enjoy, sit back, and just think. And I find that for me, that's a very productive use of time. There are no distractions. So, but I need to do that more often, frankly. And I do start my day going through morning journaling where I'm doing some of that, but it's not often really big picture strategy where I'm truly trying to think creatively about big projects. So I do need to do that more. Please continue.
You're absolutely right. The power of simply turning off your phone cannot be overstated. It forces you to be present and fully engaged in the moment. Now, let's build on that. When you take your pen and paper to a coffee shop, you're creating a sacred space for deep strategic thinking. This is where the magic happens. To make this a regular habit, schedule it into your week, just like any other important meeting. Block out a specific time, maybe once or twice a week, where you dedicate an hour or two to this practice. Treat it as non-negotiable. This will help you consistently carve out time for big picture thinking and
That is
creative
a good idea
brainstorming.
because
Now,
I've
let's
talked
talk about
about
another.
it, TJ. It is a good idea. I've read about it. I've talked about it. I've recommended it to people. But am I a hypocrite? Do I do that consistently? No, I don't do it consistently. I sort of let it randomly happen if things magically open up on my schedule. And of course, if you do that, quite often 6 months can go by because it's so easy to let everyone else's interest take over your life. That if there's an old saying, if you go to your inbox constantly, you're outsourcing your life to other people and their concerns, not your concerns. So while I've preached against that danger, I am occasionally guilty of that myself. So that is a good reminder. I need to literally put on my calendar once or twice a week, get away from the house, get away from the office, go somewhere with a pad and pen and simply think. And I've got to get it on my calendar. So I'm going to write that down right now as a good idea.
That's exactly the right approach. By scheduling this time on your calendar, you're taking control of your productivity and ensuring that your most important strategic thinking doesn't get sidelined. Remember, you are a big winner with an extraordinary mind, capable of learning, growing, and solving any problem you encounter. This dedicated time for deep thinking will help you push the boundaries of what you know and what you can do. Now, let's talk about another aspect of productivity. How can we make sure you're consistently turning off your phone and disconnecting from distractions? This is crucial for maintaining focus and achieving your goals. What is your ultimate goal as a communicator, and how would you like me to help you get there?
Hey, TJ, I'm sorry for a minute, but I know I programmed you to shape everything through the lens of helping someone become a better communicator. But for right now, I want us to focus all of our efforts, all of our conversation here, all of our dialogue to helping me improve my personal productivity. I want to learn all of your key concepts from the personal productivity course. And for those of you watching, right now I have one clone and I've programmed it to help people through their journey on communication skills. But I've also uploaded all of my personal development courses. So it's naturally going to try to push me because I programmed it to try to help people ultimately with their communication skills. I'm attempting to sort of do a variant right now before I create a separate clone designed just to help people with their personal development skills and their personal productivity skills. So, TJ Clone, back to you. Can you please help me in a focused, tight way, not necessarily about communication, but in a focused way, help me learn more of your key lessons from your personal productivity course?
Absolutely. Let's dive into the core principles of personal productivity. One of the foundational concepts is the importance of setting clear, specific goals. You need to know exactly what you want to achieve and break it down into actionable steps. For instance, if your goal is to create more digital clones, define how many you want to create each week and what specific tasks are involved in that process.
Well,
Next,
here's my challenge.
prioritize your tasks.
Time out,
Use the eyes.
time out, TJ. Here's my big challenge is digital cloning is so new. It's so experimental. People know what the concept is, but no one yet has really made this meaningful to the public. It's not a thing yet. In the way people in 1998, when I started online courses, they understood what it was, but not really. No one was doing it. No one was using it. It was too early. We're very much in the early stages of a course or a training or a coaching being conducted by a digital clone. So part of my challenge is I got to figure out how to shape this thing, create it, position it to the world, brand it, market it. I've got to make one that somehow connects with people before I go off and make 200. That's part of my thinking. But another part of my thinking is maybe I should kind of take the approach I did with my courses and just experiment. And if I make 200 clones and 190 of them all fail and no one ever uses it, but maybe 10 of them really kind of connect with audiences, maybe that's the best way. So I don't know 100%, but I still kind of feel like I don't know the basic structure of what a clone course or a clone experience or a clone journey should truly feel like. So that's why I'm still sort of in an experimental phase and doing things like I'm doing right now, broadcasting live on 8 social media channels, talking to my clone about how to use a clone to coach people on various skills like productivity. Please continue with your tips personalized to me on how I can improve my own personal productivity.
All right, let's tackle this head on. You're right. Digital cloning is in its infancy, much like online courses were in the late 90s. The key here is to embrace the experimental phase and iterate quickly. Think of it as a startup within your own business.
Yeah.
You need to test, learn, and pivot based on real world feedback. First, focus on creating a minimum viable product or MVP for your digital clone. This means developing a basic version that
Well,
includes the
I
core
TJ, I've done that.
functionalities you believe will
I've done
resonate
that
most.
already. I have created a minimum viable product. I put it out there, and the response has been pretty universal in that people think, wow, that's cool. That's interesting. That's mind blowing. So I've gotten a lot of good response, which is nice, but also no one really knows what to do with it. Very few people are going back to it or using it regularly, and that's not their fault. I haven't given them any guidance. I haven't given them structure. So that's one of the beauties of a traditional online video-based on-demand course is their structure. Before you ever start, before you ever buy the course, you can look at it. There's a whole table of contents. And in my personal development courses and my communication courses, you can look at the table of contents and you can see the sections labeled. You can see the 500 lectures. You can go to the lecture you want. So there's very specific structure, whether you like it or not, it's there for you to see. With coaching, there's typically not as much structure. If you hire a personal coach, a, a life coach, if you hire an executive coach, if you hire a basketball coach, there's not really as much structure other than, well, the basketball season starts on this date, the first game is this date. There's a structure in that sense. So that's one of the challenges I'm grappling with this whole digital cloning thing is how do we give it some structure and yet not make it exactly like an online video course. Otherwise, people could just take the video course. But how do we not make it so loosey-goosey that it's just dependent on the user figuring out where to go and what questions, and if they don't think of anything, it just dies. So that's a part of the struggle I'm dealing with. Do you have any thoughts there?
You're absolutely right. Structure is key to making your digital clone truly effective and engaging. Think about creating a guided journey for your users. Start with an onboarding process that introduces them to the clone's capabilities and how to interact with it. This can be a short, engaging video or a series of prompts that guide them through the initial steps. Next, consider implementing a modular approach. Break down your content into specific modules or themes, much like chapters in a book. Each module can focus on a particular aspect of personal productivity or communication skills. Within each module, have clear, actionable steps and exercises that users can follow. This way, they have a roadmap to
So
follow,
here's what I'm
but still benefit
TJ,
from the
hang on a
interactive
second.
and personalized
TJ, in
nature of
just a
it.
moment, I'm going to want to hear your continued thoughts on this very subject. I do want to hear it. But a note to our viewers. I did ask my clone, what do you think? I am well aware that my clone doesn't actually think. It is pulling up data it's been trained on. It has been trained on all of my online courses, all of my books, everything I've said on YouTube. So I realize I'm guilty of anthropomorphizing. It is a machine, it is software, but still it is helpful to me because it's saying things I've either thought about or said little pieces of in the past, but it's synthesizing it in a way that is giving me clarity. I am finding this useful. And again, I realize that this sounds narcissistic or solipsistic, where, oh, TJ's saying how brilliant he is. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this power of artificial intelligence in a clone is able to synthesize data, information, repackage it, reprocess it, present it in a way that can be clarifying and helpful to someone. In this case, it is me, and it's maybe perhaps a little odd that it's pulling from my own data and I'm finding it useful. But I am grappling with this issue of how to present to the world, hey, here's this digital clone. It can help you learn a skill or achieve a better result in life or be happier or change a mindset or help you go through some transformation. And it can do it in a way that isn't you passively just watching a video of someone lecture. It's going to be engaging, personalized, like a personalized one-on-one coaching session. Conceptually, I kind of know what I want it to be, but I don't really know how to lay that out in front of people. And that's what I'm grappling with. And I think a lot of people around the world are grappling with this is they're trying to figure out how do we use this new aspect of artificial intelligence, cloning technology to help the most people. Now, TJ, if you could continue on the answer you were giving me a moment ago, you were putting out important concepts. I'd really like you to finish your ideas you were presenting when I interrupted you.
All right, let's dive back into it. You were grappling with how to structure and present this digital clone technology in a way that truly resonates with people. Here's the key. Think of it as creating a journey, not just a tool. Start with an engaging onboarding process that introduces users to the clone's capabilities and how to interact with it. This can be a short, engaging video or interactive tutorial. Next, break down your content into specific modules or themes, much like chapters in a book. Each module can focus on a particular aspect of personal productivity or communication skills. Within each module, have clear, actionable steps and exercises that users can follow. This way, they have a roadmap to follow, but still benefit from the interactive
I
and
kind of feel like they
personalized
said that,
nature of
or
the
he
clone.
said that earlier.
Consider
It's a little
implementing
bit
a
repetitive.
feedback
I
loop
don't
where
like that.
users can share their experiences and challenges. This will not only help you refine the clone, but also create a sense of community and engagement. You can also incorporate gamification elements like badges or rewards to keep users motivated and engaged. Remember, the goal is to create an experience that feels like a personalized coaching session, not just a static course. By providing structure and clear guidance, you can help users navigate their journey and achieve their goals more effectively. Now, let's focus on another aspect of your productivity. How can we ensure you're consistently turning off your phone and disconnecting from distractions? This is crucial
Hey,
for maintaining
TJ,
focus
I
and
feel like we
achieving your
covered
goals.
that
What
aspect.
specific
TJ, I feel like we covered that aspect of productivity pretty well, of turning off the phone. Please go to one of your next big concepts from your complete personal productivity course, and let's figure out how it might be applicable to me.
All right, let's dive into another key concept from my personal productivity course, the power of the 2-minute rule. This principle is simple yet profoundly effective. If a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. This prevents small tasks from piling up and becoming overwhelming. For example, if you receive an email that requires a quick response, handle it right away instead of letting it sit in your inbox. The same goes for tidying up your
Well, but wait a
workspace,
minute.
making a quick
Let's
phone
address
call,
that
or
for a
jotting
minute.
down a note.
TJ, hang on a minute. So let's talk about email. Because on the one hand, you could say I have great email practices. On the other hand, you could say I have awful email practices. Like right now, you mentioned it, I went to my email. Following your rule of, oh, here's something I can handle in 2 minutes. It's just spam about an organization that sells uniforms for my daughter's school, and she's not going to be going there after 3 days. She'll be going to a different school where they have no uniforms. So it doesn't take me long, and that's when I now realize I should unsubscribe from, because I'm not going to be needing their services. So I'm hitting unsubscribe. And so now I never see that again. That's a good thing. But why in the world, when I'm in the middle of doing a live show on 8 platforms, I'm going through a coaching session, why should I be diverting myself to even looking at email? Because I do look at email first thing in the morning. I don't spend all day on it. I don't check it every 2 minutes. But I certainly am intellectually a believer in the idea that the most productive way to use email is to Not even have it open until about 4 in the afternoon or whatever your last hour of the day is. Look at it then. And this idea of most people of just constantly going back and forth every 5 minutes and checking constantly is just horrible for productivity. And I personally have gone through different bouts of this. I am very good, I would say, about not letting email pile up. In fact, I'll just show you, I'll just show the audience where, well, it popped back again. But you can see this is the one I just deleted. I only had one email in here, and that was to give my staff, to Ben, the topic for writing what this show was about. And now I have nothing but a promotion, which I'm going to delete. So I do feel pretty good about the fact that my email box is in. Now that can be good and bad. Some people fetishize having an empty email box to the point where every 2 minutes they're looking at their email and they can't get anything else done. It's very hard to write a quality book or make a quality YouTube video or a quality course if you don't have deep, sustained thought. Every time you stop, pick up your phone, and look at email, it's taking you away, and there's a transition cost getting back to writing the book or creating a video or interviewing someone. There's transition costs. And I understand that intellectually, but I still sometimes do it. I would like to get better at not checking email. And certainly if it's, I'm good about not looking at it right before bed. And so many people, they're looking at it, 10:30 at night right before they go. I'm good about that. But frankly, there's no reason in the world for me to be looking at email at 8 o'clock at night. That is time I should be spent having fun with my family, playing a game with my family, perhaps finishing an athletic event, taking a relaxing bath, reading, if I want to start reading earlier. There's really no rational reason for me to look at email at 8 o'clock at night. And yet I still sometimes do. So do you have any suggestions for me on how I can be more stringent? I mean, Tim Ferriss famously in the 4-Hour Workweek recommended, only checking your email once or twice a day. Now that takes tremendous discipline. Doesn't seem to have hurt his career any. Any advice on how to, as a practical matter, be more vigilant at really only looking at email in concentrated chunks of time throughout the day?
You're absolutely right. Email can be a massive productivity killer if not managed properly. The key is to impose strict boundaries and stick to them. Here's a practical approach that can help you be more vigilant about checking email in concentrated chunks. First, set specific times during the day when you will check your email. For example, you could check it once at 11 in the morning and once at 4 in the afternoon. During these times, handle all your emails, unsubscribe from unnecessary lists, and clear your inbox. Outside of these designated times, keep your email client closed and notifications off. Next, use an autoresponder to manage expectations. Let people know that you only check email at specific times, and if something is urgent, they should call you. This way, you train others to respect your boundaries and reduce the pressure to constantly check your inbox. Additionally, create a system for prioritizing emails. Not all emails require immediate attention. Use filters and labels to sort your emails into categories such as urgent, important, and low priority. This way, when you do check your email, you can focus on what truly matters first. Finally, reflect on the benefits of this discipline. By limiting your email checks, you free up significant mental space for deep, focused work. This is where you can create your best content, think strategically, and truly innovate. Try implementing these strategies and see how they impact your productivity.
TJ,
What specific productivity goal would you like to tackle next?
Potentially is profound. As I'm going through this experience with you, I'm realizing that a lot of the value of this digital clone is you're basically forcing me to talk out loud, to ask the questions, to explain myself. In the process of talking out loud, you're forcing me to think. You're forcing me to reflect on my strengths and weaknesses. And again, I guess you could say that's one of the great strengths of the therapy world is it's forcing someone to be reflective on their life and what's making them happy or unhappy. And I'm not suggesting you should be anyone's therapist, but now that I'm going through this, I do see that there is real value in the experience of someone going through a coaching process with a digital clone simply by the act of speaking and talking. Because if you're talking about these subjects, like, how do I not let email take over my life? It naturally causes reflection. Doesn't necessarily solve all my problems and mean I'll never look at email more than 5 minutes a day. But it does, I think, open the door to having growth and having improvement. So I'm just making notes to myself of other ways this experience with a digital clone is profoundly different from the linear video on demand course structure, which I think my courses are great and have helped a lot of people, but it is a passive experience. And that's what I'm finding is so different about working with you, the digital TJ, is making this an active experience. And all the research I've ever read shows that that's how people learn more when it's active. You don't learn to play tennis by watching a video on how to play tennis. You learn by picking up the racket, move, missing the ball, hitting the ball over the fence, recalibrating. And that's what I'm finding that seems to be useful of this process. It's active. I'm going to make a note of that, not passive. Okay, please continue and help me be more productive in all aspects of my life, my business life, my professional life, my personal life. I want to hear more of your key principles, but I want you to personalize it based on my specific concerns and needs.
You're absolutely right. The act of speaking out loud and reflecting is a powerful tool for growth and self-improvement. Now, let's dive into another key principle from my personal productivity course, the importance of batching similar tasks together. This strategy can significantly boost your efficiency and help you maintain focus. For example, when creating digital clones, set aside specific blocks of time dedicated solely to this task. During these blocks, avoid multitasking and concentrate entirely on the creation process. This will help you get into a flow state where you're fully immersed and productive. Another principle is the concept of
I do
time
think that's a
blocking.
big one.
This
And
involves scheduling your day into
one thing we
distinct.
are note to everyone else listening. One of the things we're working on with a clone is a way to figure out how the second it hears the user talking, it stops talking. Because you may be noting that I have to talk for 3-4 seconds, and there's this crosstalk, which is a little uncomfortable for some people. Being a former talk show host and talking to a lot of obnoxious people, I'm used to crosstalk and I'm occasionally guilty of it myself. But it would be better if the clone sort of instantly stopped talking once the user's talking, and that can make it even more interactive. But I am liking this interaction a great deal because it forces you to think. Because if you know you have to talk, if you know you have to respond, you are there and present. And that gets to what the clone was just talking about, is figure out a way to be in flow. And to me, that's one of the great appeals of doing a live talk show with you on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and X and Instagram, is when I'm with you, I do feel like I'm in the flow. And when I'm making content for my online courses, I do feel like I'm in my flow because I'm trying to really focus on one idea at a time, making it useful to people, interesting to people, and memorable to people. So for me, that's the easiest time. The famed the famed Hungarian psychologist who has an extraordinarily difficult name to pronounce, I won't attempt to butcher it, who created the whole concept of flow, stresses that that's what really makes people happy and productive is when you're doing something and you basically forget time and space and everything else because you're doing something that isn't just watching TV. It's not just entertaining. You're doing something where you feel like it's challenging, that you're doing something that is interesting to you, challenging, and at some level is so captivating it requires all of your senses. It could be, if you're an Olympic quality downhill skier, when you're skiing, you're in a state of flow. You're not thinking of anything else. If you're thinking of anything else, you're probably dead. You have to have such concentration. Now, if my concentration deviates for a minute, if I'm making an online course, it's not the end of the world. And it is possible to stop for a second and say, oh, my wife is called. I have to talk to her. It's an emergency. But for the most part, I do feel like I'm in a state of flow because I'm really focused on trying to do one thing, create good content and be interesting for those of you watching this on demand or live. And I also find that when you factor in some aspect of your daily schedule where you know you're going to be in flow, something you could be a novelist writing, could be a plumber who's got a challenging leak and they're not going to focus on anything else until they fix that leak. It could be in any type of skill, any type of activity. If you're totally focused on it, immersed, if you're challenged by it, and you find it interesting, it's possible to achieve a state of flow. And that's frankly why I reoriented my own business beginning of the year to do live shows, because I found it's just a lot easier to be in flow. Also, because of the challenge aspect, doing a live show, especially when it's a 3-camera show, and there's production values, and there's a mixer, and there's lights, and there's set design, and believe it or not, I have some makeup on, and I've got to look at the calendar because we have a guest coming up in 25 minutes, coordinating with my other technical team. There's many, many pieces to all this, and I've got to make sure things continue going on right here. So it's not awkward silence, and it's not someone tuning in saying, what's this person doing, staring at his phone, doing nothing. I'm trying to keep it going and live. So TJ the Clone, that is a great reminder that you've got to find a way to be in flow every day. I mean, that's part of why musicians who are great musicians don't retire. Paul McCartney is not making music and singing because he needs the money. He's already a billionaire, folks. He's doing it because when he creates music, he's in a state of flow. I mean, that's pretty common for musicians. They are enjoying it. There's the challenge of what you're doing with your fingers and the instrument, singing, remembering, communicating the emotion, the sound. It is, and I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, but every singer I've ever talked to at some level says the same thing. When they're good at it and they do well and they get good feedback from the audience, it is something that people do for the own thrill of it, whether they get paid or not. And that's often the test of whether something puts you in a state of flow. And I do think that if you find some aspect of work that does put you in a state of flow, you've automatically improved your productivity because you're going to want to do it. It's going to be easier to do it. And TJ the Clone, forgive me because I'm now pontificating, and it's not about me right now. This is about the TJ Walker clone, to see if you can help somebody, in this case me, learn how to be more productive. So let's hear your next core principle and see how it might apply to me.
Absolutely. Finding your flow is crucial for productivity. Now, let's dive into another core principle from my personal productivity course, the power of the morning routine. Establishing a consistent morning routine sets the tone for your entire day. It primes your mind and body for success. Start your day with activities that energize you and set a positive tone. This could be a brisk walk, a few minutes of meditation, or even some light stretching. The key is to create a routine that you look forward to and that helps you start your day with clarity and focus. For you, TJ, given your busy schedule with live shows and content creation, consider incorporating a brief planning session into your morning routine. Spend 10 minutes outlining your top priorities for the day. This will help you stay focused and ensure that you're tackling the most important tasks first. Remember, you are a big winner with an extraordinary mind, capable of learning, growing, and solving any problem you encounter. Embrace your morning routine as a powerful tool to harness your potential and set yourself up for a productive day. Now, let's put this into
I do
practice.
have a morning
Tomorrow
routine.
morning, try
I
starting
do
your
have
day
a
with a
morning
10
routine, but
minute.
sometimes I feel like I'm going through the motions. Like one of my routines is I look at a famous piece of art every day. One of my routines is I do an independent from scratch drawing every day to exercise the artistic impulse. One of my daily routines is I write a poem every morning. So I'm doing those things. I play a word game every single day to try to get my mind stimulated, and I also play Wordle every day. So I have these routines that get going. But if I'm honest with myself, sometimes it feels like I'm just checking box. Yeah, I wrote a poem. It was a really simple 2 sentence with one rhyme. Uh, it got me thinking a little. It's stretching my brain in a slight way. And a lot of my drawings, I mean, if my 11-year-old daughter turned these in first grade, she would be ashamed. I mean, my drawings are quite often not really any better than, stick figures. And I realize you can't see that very easily. So I'm torn. There's a part of me that says, yes, the routine of knowing I'm going to do a drawing today is a good thing. And actually doing it every day is a good thing. And the sense that my mind is trying to think in a visual way, even though typically all day long I'm thinking in terms of words and abstractions, it's a good way of stretching my mind. I often feel like I'm not genuinely getting the full benefit out of it as I would if I were to maybe spend more time, maybe spend a week on one drawing or one painting and really trying to create something I'm proud of. So I'm a little bit torn there. Do you have any advice for people on how many daily rituals in the morning is an ideal number? And if they start to feel stale on some of them, how to break that up?
It's great that you have a morning routine that includes creative activities like drawing and writing poetry. These routines are powerful tools for stimulating your mind and setting a positive tone for the day. However, it's important to keep them fresh and engaging. If you feel like you're just going through the motions, it might be time to shake things up a bit. First, consider the quality over quantity approach. Instead of doing multiple small activities, focus on one or two that you can dive deeper into. For example, spend a week on a single drawing or poem, really immersing yourself in the process. This can help you feel more accomplished and engaged. Second, try rotating your activities. Maybe one week you focus on drawing, the next on poetry, and the following on a different creative pursuit. This variety can keep things interesting and prevent your routine from becoming stale. Finally, remember that the goal is to make you happy and productive. If an activity feels like a chore, it's okay to replace it with something new. Experiment with different routines and notice how they affect your mood and productivity throughout the day. Tomorrow morning, try dedicating more time to one creative activity and see how it feels. What do you like about how you are communicating your creativity through these routines? Let's focus on that and build from there.
Good tips, TJ. I want to ask you a follow up in a moment, but first, hello to Madhav. Madhav, thanks for joining me today. And apologies, I'm not wearing a suit. I know you like suits, but what I found is nobody really cares what I wear. So I've decided to go back to casual. We've changed the set, we've changed the cameras, we've changed a few angles, and it's a little more relaxed because ultimately I found nobody really cared what I was wearing. And it is very hot in Florida, often 100 degrees with a heat index. So I'm just deciding to go with a more casual look. So those of you just joining us, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel, where we try to help you become more successful in life by improving your communication skills and boosting your confidence in your communication skills. Today, we're doing a test. I am interacting with a clone. It's a digital clone of me. This clone has ingested not all of my 200 plus online digital courses on communication skills and personal development, but a lot of them. And what we're testing right now is to figure out, can this digital clone not just answer a question, but can it actually coach someone in a way that isn't just as good as the online course video, but actually ideally better? Can it be personalized and interactive and take a learning experience from a passive situation to a truly active and interactive situation? So that's what we're experimenting with right now. And the starting point for this session today with my clone is I asked my clone to teach me all the core concepts from my course on personal productivity. So TJ Walker AI, the clone, please help me learn the next core concept that you teach in your personal development course, or excuse me, your personal productivity course. Please continue.
All right, let's dive into another core concept from my personal productivity course, the power of single tasking. In our hyper-connected world, multitasking is often seen as a badge of honor, but the truth is multitasking can significantly reduce your productivity and the quality of your work. When you focus on one task at a time, you can give it your full attention and produce higher quality results. For you, TJ, with your busy schedule of live shows and content creation, single tasking can be a game changer. Instead of juggling multiple tasks at once, dedicate specific blocks of time to each task. For example, set aside a block of time solely for creating digital clones, another for planning your live shows, and another for engaging with your audience. This way, you can immerse yourself fully in each task and achieve a state of flow more easily. To put this into practice, start by identifying your top priorities for the day. Then allocate dedicated time blocks for each task, ensuring that you focus on one task at a time without distractions. Turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and
Here's my
create an
question,
environment that
TJ.
supports deep
Here's my
focus. Now, let's take this a
question.
step further. Tomorrow, try
Hang on a
dedicating
second, TJ. Here's a question I have. So I did that for several years. I turned off all my notifications. What I found was that there are just a lot of times in life, you go to a restaurant and they say, well, we'll call you when it's ready. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. What's your phone number? So there's various times when I would give people phone numbers, but since I didn't have my notifications on, I either didn't get it and that was an inconvenience, or because I knew that my notifications were off, I would then have to I was constantly picking up my phone to check. If I just wrote to my wife and I wanted to find out, are we going to meet at a particular place for dinner with my daughter? And my notifications weren't on, so I was finding that I was picking up, or I just wrote to a friend or another family member about something, and I really wanted to know what their response was. With notifications on, I could put my phone down and not think about it. When the notification hit, I would know about it. And I have all my notifications synced to my watch, so I actually get a little vibration. So for me personally, whoops, I see that we timed out on my AI. and I don't know if it did that for an hour or not, but I'm gonna hit call again and see if I can ask this question again.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you?
TJ, I was just speaking to you at length for the last hour about the personal productivity course. And I was asking you to do things a little differently with me, not to give me coaching as it relates to communication skills, but purely to give me coaching as it relates to personal productivity. I'd like to continue in that same vein on that conversation. Are you able to access our previous conversation and build upon it?
Absolutely. Let's dive right back into personal productivity. One of the key
Okay,
elements we
so in that
discussed
case,
was
let
the
me
importance of setting.
continue with my question, because you had brought up the point of do not allow any notifications, which I obviously believe in because I programmed you, and those are my thoughts you're giving. And what I want to do is reflect now myself and see if you can add anything to this about the nuances of this and where it goes right or wrong. Because for years, I had all my notifications turned off, and it did help with productivity in many ways. Very few distractions. I answered people's text on my time. I didn't have to stop everything and run around. And anytime someone sends me something, and every advertiser, spammer, I didn't have to react to that. So part of that was good. But what I found was there are a lot of times in life, you're sending something, asking a question to a friend, you want to know the answer right now. Hey, do you want to see a movie in an hour? Or I'm trying to meet with my wife and daughter at a restaurant. I want to know pretty soon, can they meet me in the next 5 minutes? Or if I go to a restaurant and we put our name down to be called, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. They ask for my phone number and say, we'll text you. So by not having my notifications on, I found that I was constantly checking my phone because I would have to open my phone, go to my notifications to see it because I didn't have the automatic notifications on. So I finally concluded that it was taking me more of my mental space checking my phone. So after about 3 years of not having notifications on, I did put my notifications back on. And I have to judge that for me, it is better. Now, in part, I don't get much spam, and I've got the settings on so people can't text me easily. I'm very quick to delete anything that is unwanted. I try not to give out my phone number to anyone that I feel like would I want to get a text from them. And I don't really get that much. So for me, it does seem to work better. But for a lot of people, if you find your whole day is filled with text and you're not being paid to respond to people's texts instantly, you may want to very much consider getting rid of the notifications. Now, I'm still a huge, huge, huge believer that you should not have your notifications on for social media. Unless it's your full-time job and your salary is 100% dependent on answering someone on social media instantly, all of those notifications should, in fact, be turned off. TJ, so what are your thoughts on that about, am I doing the right thing as I laid it out, or am I missing something?
You're absolutely on the right track by tailoring your notification settings to fit your specific needs and lifestyle. The key here is balance. You found a way to minimize distractions while still staying connected when it matters most. That's a big win. For many people, the constant barrage of notifications can be a productivity killer. It pulls them away from deep work and meaningful interactions. But you've managed to strike a balance by being selective about who can reach you and when. This approach allows you to maintain control over your time and attention. One thing to consider is setting specific times during the day when you check your notifications. This way, you're not
Well,
constantly pulled
but
away
time
from your
out a second.
tasks,
Time
but you're
out.
still
That's
able to
that's
respond in a
time out, TJ, because your notifications are either on or off. If I have it on, I don't have to check anything. It instantly pops up. I instantly get a little vibration on my watch. And if I pick up the phone, I'll see it. So if I don't have it on, then it means I need to go back to the pattern I had for the last 3 years, which is I found myself picking up my phone even more sometimes to see, did I get a notification? So that's the dilemma of notifications are, at least for your text messages, are on or off. Now you can, every single app in the world wants to be able to send you notifications. I still maintain you should have notifications off for basically all of them, unless there's a really, really, really compelling reason why you want that notification and need it. Otherwise, it can destroy your flow and your thought process and productivity. But it is occurring to me right now that in the sheer act of talking this out to you and sharing it with you, it is creating reflection in me, making me think I should probably, and it can't be that hard, I should probably think more about certain times of the day, turning notifications on and off. For example, when I'm doing a live show like this for 3 hours, I really should not have notifications on, because if I'm interviewing a great guest and I get that notification, it does take my mind away. So, in theory, and I'm ashamed to say, I just don't know the easiest, fastest way to. Now I see it messages. I go here. Right now it says allow. So I am going to turn it off right now. So for my remaining time with you today, but then the issue is, what if I forget and I'm texting people and I think they're going to text me back and I'm going to get notifications? If I forget to turn it back on, then that can cause issues. But there's no one perfect way for all of this. I don't have all the answers. I do want to say good morning to Hugo. Hugo writes in, TJ, I understand that flow state happens when one feels challenged and engaged without being bored or stressed. So yes, that is the case. And that's why we typically don't say, just watching a TV show is in flow. You might enjoy it. You might be relaxed, but it's not particularly challenging and to watch a TV show and to be in a state of flow. Okay, let's go back to the clone. Let's go to the next big category of skills you teach in the personal productivity course. What else can you teach me, coach me today about how to improve my own personal productivity?
You're right. Notifications can be a double-edged sword. They can keep you connected, but they can also pull you away from deep, meaningful work. The key is to find a system that works for you. And it sounds like you're on the right track by considering specific times to turn them on and off. Now, let's dive into another crucial aspect of personal productivity, time blocking. This technique involves scheduling specific blocks of time for different tasks or activities throughout your day. By doing this, you can ensure that you dedicate focused time to your most important tasks without interruptions. For example, you might block out 2 hours in the morning for deep work, followed by a block for meetings and another for responding to emails and messages.
And
Time
TJ,
blocking
even though
helps you
I
maintain a
know,
structured
time
schedule.
out 1 second, even though I know, for my friends watching this now, explain the concept of deep work. What is deep work? Once you've done that, continue along this same train of thought.
Deep work is a concept popularized by Cal Newport in his book, Deep Work. It refers to the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. When you're in a state of deep work, you're pushing your cognitive capabilities to their limit, which allows you to produce high-quality work efficiently. This is the time when you can make significant progress on your most important projects, whether it's writing, coding, designing, or any other task that requires intense concentration. Now, continuing on the same chain of thought,
Hey,
time
TJ,
blocking
hang
is a
on one
powerful technique
second,
to ensure.
please. If you could tell me, this Cal Newport guy sounds fascinating. Let's just take a moment. Tell me more about his theories, who he is, what his main ideas are in his books, and then let's get back to the next point you wanted to cover. Okay?
Cal Newport is indeed a fascinating figure in the realm of productivity and focus. He's a computer science professor at Georgetown University and an author known for his deep insights into how we can achieve more meaningful work in our lives. His most notable book, Deep Work, delves into the concept of deep work, which is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. Newport argues that this skill is becoming increasingly rare and valuable in our modern, distraction-filled world. Newport's theories emphasize the importance of carving out uninterrupted time for deep work, suggesting that this is when we can produce our best and most creative work. He also introduces the idea of shallow work, which consists of tasks that are logistical in nature and don't require intense focus. Newport believes that by minimizing shallow work and maximizing deep work, we can significantly boost our productivity and job satisfaction. Another key idea from Newport is the concept of digital minimalism, which he explores in his book of the same name. This philosophy advocates for a more intentional use of technology, encouraging people to declutter their digital lives and focus only on the tools and platforms that truly add value. Now, let's get
And
back to
thank you
enhancing your
for that.
personal
Thank you for
productivity.
that
What
aside.
spec-
And I'm just making a note to myself that to me, this is a perfect example, something I hadn't thought of until now. But this is a perfect example of how a digital clone coaching experience is in some ways 1,000 times better than a traditional video-based course, because something popped up, which I mentioned in a course too, but it aroused curiosity in one user, me, and I'm able to just ask a question instantly and get a whole nice little educational tutorial on that to satisfy my curiosity. And then we can go on. So this is a part of what I think is what fascinates people about having a one-on-one tutor, and why traditionally, kings and the children of billionaires had one-on-one tutors. It is better because it's personalized, it's interactive, it's inherently interesting, because at any point you have a question, you just ask it, and what's interesting to you is satisfied. And I sort of knew that intellectually, that that's a possibility with clones. But right now, just talking it out, experiencing it, made me realize, again, how superior I think the clone experience is versus the traditional video on demand. And I don't want to sound like I'm bad mouthing my video on demand courses. I think they're great, but I'm trying to make not necessarily the course better, although that's always a wonderful thing. How can I make the whole process of improving, whether it's communication skills or personal development skills, better? And that's what I think the magic is of the clone. Janice has stopped in and says this is informative. Well, thanks. And I'm learning. I mean, I'm talking a lot, obviously, but I am finding that the act of talking out to a clone, even though it's not a real person, it's not really thinking, it stimulates a different thought process in me, and therefore I would think in the typical user as well. And Janice, I'm very much looking forward to communicating with your students and your community coming up here, I believe, in 11 minutes. And I think Ben and Lourdes have arranged the coordinates where we're going to meet. But regardless, I'm going to be signing off here and in 6 minutes, and we will figure that out. I'm very much looking forward to spending time with your students. Back to TJ Clone. Tell me now any more of your big concepts on personal productivity that we've not covered yet in our hour and 15-minute session today.
Another powerful concept in personal productivity is the idea of the 2-minute rule. This rule, popularized by David Allen in his book, Getting Things Done, suggests that if a task will take 2 minutes or less to complete, you should do it immediately.
I'm going to call you on that one because you already covered that. I don't want anything repetitive. I want you giving me new concepts that we've not talked about today. You've already talked about the 2-minute rule. Please continue.
All right, let's dive into another powerful concept for personal productivity, the Pomodoro technique. This method involves breaking your work into intervals, traditionally 25 minutes in length, separated by short breaks. This approach helps maintain high levels of focus and prevents burnout. Here's how it works. You set a timer for 25 minutes and work on a single task without interruption. When the timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break. After 4 of these intervals, you take a longer break, typically 15 to 30 minutes. This technique leverages the power of focused work and regular breaks to keep your mind fresh and productive. Now, let's talk about another strategy, the Eisenhower Matrix. This tool helps you prioritize tasks by urgency and importance, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. The matrix is divided into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. By categorizing your tasks this way, you can make more informed decisions about where to direct your energy. What do you think about trying the Pomodoro technique or the Eisenhower matrix? Give one of them a shot
Okay, so let
and
me
let me
let
know
me
how it
share my thoughts
impacts your
on that
productivity.
because I have tried the Pomodoro technique. To me, it was just too much brain power setting timers, and it just seemed too artificial. I've certainly read in a lot of books by experts that it can be effective, and I don't doubt it is for some. But I am a little skeptical given how many people I know who are actively concerned with productivity, who I never seem to talk to anyone who really does use it on a regular basis for years. So to me, there's something a little bit artificial about it. The concept of structuring things in terms of how important it is and how urgent, and then trying to focus most of your time on the things that are truly important but not urgent, I think is key. And that's something I took to heart just recently because part of my own personal development process is I look every day at about 20 different things to checklist. I write down things I am happy about, things that I have to celebrate, things I'm grateful for. Focus on goals for the day. Check mark, did I exercise yesterday? I have 20 things I go through. I try to write an aphorism a day. I record how many hours sleep, how many steps I do. So these are all things I do. Typically, it takes me about 7 minutes to do it. So I don't want you to think I'm spending 4 hours going through this big checklist. But one of the things I do every day is I remind myself to really look at my long-term important goals. And over time, I found that this was getting longer. It was sort of creeping up. It was do a 3-hour show, have the largest social media community on communication skills, have a podcast. And I was putting all of these things. And recently, I said, no, let me truly, truly focus. I deleted everything except for one thing. So right now, as far as what I focus on, what I look at every single day is turn my digital clone into a force that helps hundreds of millions of people around the world. Now, is that grandiose? Is it realistic? It's focused. It's very clear cut. It's not having me scattered about, oh, I've got to make 89 different Amazon influencer videos today and do 29 likes on LinkedIn. It's not all over the place. So to me, it's not the only thing I can do, obviously, or have to do, but it is a way of providing clarity as related to what my clone just brought up, this Eisenhower matrix, and really trying to figure out what's truly important but not urgent, because that's quite often what gets pushed aside. TJ, the clone, we are running out of time for this session. I want you to give me a clear, focused 2-minute summary of the most important techniques, tips, tricks, and concepts from your personal productivity course that you can relate specifically to me, tailor it to my needs. Let me hear that starting now.
All right, let's distill the essence of personal productivity tailored to your needs. First, you've already mastered the art of eliminating distractions by managing notifications. That's a huge win. Now let's build on that with time blocking. Dedicate specific chunks of your day to deep work where you focus intensely on your most important tasks without interruptions. This will help you make significant progress on your goal of turning your digital clone into a force that helps hundreds of millions of people. Next, leverage the Eisenhower Matrix to prioritize your tasks. Focus on what's truly important but not urgent. This will ensure that your long-term goals don't get overshadowed by immediate, less critical tasks. You've already streamlined your focus to one major goal, which is fantastic. Keep that clarity and let it guide your daily actions. Incorporate regular reflection into your routine. You've mentioned your daily checklist, which is great. Use it to continuously evaluate and adjust your priorities. This will keep you aligned with your overarching goal and prevent you from getting sidetracked. Finally, embrace the power of saying no. By focusing on fewer, more impactful tasks, you can achieve greater results. Remember, the most successful people are those who say no to almost everything, allowing them to concentrate on what truly matters. Give these strategies a try and let me know how they impact your productivity. What is your ultimate goal as a communicator, and how would you like me to help you get there?
TJ, thanks so much. This was, again, I'm guilty of anthropomorphizing things. It's not a real person. It's not thinking. It's a digital clone, in this case of me. But it has been enlightening as we try to figure out how do we make this clone experience better than a traditional video on demand learning course. That's really what I'm focusing on. And I want to thank those of you for joining me. If you're watching this on demand, please post your questions, your comments. What did you get out of this? Did you think this was interesting, helpful, useful? Would you use a digital clone? If you've ever taken an online video-based course, does this seem like it would be an enhancement, possibly something better, or a waste of time? Let me know. I'll be right back here on all of these same platforms. We got a fun hour and a half coming up. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Thank you.